I'm Olivia Shalhoup. I am the founder and director of Amethyst Collab. Welcome to our Women's History Month documentary.
Hi, my name is Kimiko Jensen, and I am a marketing director at APG.
My name is Brittany Holloway, and I'm a marketer focused on the intersection of music and technology. I currently work as a product marketing manager at SOUNDCLOUD.
I'm Dorothy Caccavale, and I'm an artist manager based in Los Angeles.
Hi, my name is Jade Gomez, and I am a freelance music writer who specializes in hip-hop and punk coverage based out of New Jersey.
I'm Tatiana, and I'm a music journalist. I'm currently on staff at BILLBOARD, where I cover all aspects of the music business.
Hi, I'm Charlene Bryant, founder of RIVETER Management, a full-service artist management company.
My name is Hicks, and I am an A&R manager.
Hi, my name is Heran Mamo, and I am a staff writer at Billboard magazine.
My name is Margaux Grober, and I am a director of A&R at Arista Records.
Hi, my name is Jaide Lewis. I'm a senior manager of digital marketing at Atlantic Records.
Hi, my name is Jamila Wright, and I am a Black music digital marketing manager at Atlantic Records.
I definitely think Rihanna has completely inspired me ever since I was a preteen, starting with Good Girl Gone Bad album, which got me through a lot of really tough times with some great anthems that I still listen to. I think she really showed that anybody with any type of background can do anything. And she's reinvented herself so many times and has been successful every single time, which is incredible. Not just in music, but her being such an entrepreneur and venturing out into fashion and beauty and being so amazingly successful in all of these things and doing it with such class and grace, I think has been incredibly inspiring and has shown women that you can be anything you want. I think society also has kind of laid out these rules that, women are best in the public eye between, their teens and their 20s, and Rihanna is sort of just, going through her 30s now and just absolutely killing it and showing that that's just so not true. I think she just keeps growing into herself more and more and is so confident and so beautiful and so successful that, there's really no age where a woman is, at her peak or her best or most successful, and you can really reinvent yourself and be your best at any age. There's no time that you need to settle down or taper off, and I think that's a really important thing that she's laid down, and I have a lot of respect for her.
Some women who have inspired me are my mom. She is the best. She has been a women's history advocate for as long as I can remember. In the second grade, she made me be Susan B. Anthony for Halloween. So you can see where I get my passion for women's rights from. But really, she is a business genius. She inspires me in every sense of the word. So shout out to my mom, of course. Some women in music who inspire me are Charlene Bryant, Trippie Redd's manager, who has taught me so much, not just about the world of music business, but about life. Thank you, Charlene. Margaux Grober, who has not only taught me so much and made me feel supported and uplifted in the music industry, but also offered me business opportunities. And I know she's done that for many other women. Margaux, you are a true inspiration as well. Sammy Scott from Atlantic Records. Really all of the women who have taken the time and energy to participate in these panels with us.
One woman that I look up to in this industry would be Sylvia Rhone. I feel like she, as a woman of color, has worked with everyone, every legend that you can imagine, from Rick Ross to Swizz Beatz and T.I., and I just feel like a woman like that who has sustained a career throughout many, many generations of music, I just feel like it's important. There's something that she has done, I feel like, that a lot of people haven't been able to sustain in our industry, and for her to be a Black woman, I feel like that's amazing, that she was not only able to foster these careers but maintain these relationships and help grow with these artists throughout their career. So she's seen them through thick and thin. She's seen them from the beginning up until the the peaks and the heights of their careers?
Someone who has really inspired me in the music industry, I would say, first of all, just all the women at Billboard that I work with. I'm really, really lucky to be on a team that's led by a female editorial director, Hannah Karp, which is awesome. And I think in particular, one person who's really inspired me is Lindsay Havens, one of our senior editors at Billboard. She hired me as an intern when I was just out of college, and really believed in me and made sure that she was always around to answer the questions that I had. She always made sure that I was being able to do the projects I was passionate about, and really believed in me from the start, and I'm so grateful to that. And it's been awesome to just like continue at Billboard and grow together. And I've watched her do so many amazing things, like running the sound section of our magazine for years on her own, and writing our cover story on Billie Eilish a little while ago. So yeah, I think the most important thing though with that is that she has inspired me to mentor other women and just other people in the music industry, and in music journalism. So it's really great to have that.
The woman who's inspired me most in my career, I'd have to say, is Halsey. Working alongside her taught me, to move fearlessly when striving towards achieving goals and to stop at nothing to get there. I learned the real hard work and dedication that goes into making those dreams come true.
Two women that inspire me are Julie Greenwald and Sylvia Rohn, because they are bosses and they both are like leading the ship for major record labels right now. And then also I am inspired by my actual boss, Michelle Cranford, for, showing that women can lead in the tech space and digital. So yeah.
Somebody who has been very inspirational to me over the past couple of years is Deani Harper from Atlantic Records. She is one of the heads of marketing over there and has been really instrumental in my growth over the past couple of years. She just handles herself like such a boss in every situation, but also is so relatable and funny and gets personable with you. And I just love how she's able to juggle being such an inspiration and such a boss, but also somebody who you can go to and get advice to about anything. And she's the most organized person I think I've ever met in my life. But she also is, a mother of a young child, and she's always emailing and always available and does such amazing work with Kehlani and Kevin Gates and Charlie Puth, and also is one of the heads of the department. And I just think that her work ethic and her relatability at the same time is something that I think is unmatched, and someone who I really hope to grow to be more like over the next couple years of my career.
A woman in the music industry that inspires me is Ritz McCain. Ritz and I have never actually worked for the same company or lived in the same city, but I had a chance to meet her at my last job, and I loved the way that she approached our conversations and our interactions, which is with the competency and intelligence that she contains about her own work, but also the warmth and openness of someone that I knew I wanted to befriend and that I wanted to surround myself with. So even though I lived in New York at the time that we had met, when I visited Nashville during my job, I had a chance to see Ritz there, and I really appreciated how welcoming she was to me in that city, even though we really had only known each other in somewhat of a small capacity. And when I had given a presentation at Music Biz, even though Ritz had already mostly heard the spiel that I was going to be presenting on, she showed up, brought her colleagues, sat in the first few rows, and were the first people to start clapping and yelling woohoo, showing their support for me. And seeing that sort of behavior really showed me what I want to embody as I continue into the music industry, and it showed me how I want to support and show up for other people.
A woman in the music industry that has inspired me is Jacqueline Saturn, who is head of now Virgin Music Label and Artist Services, formerly Caroline. Jacqueline Saturn is so dope to me because she has cultivated an amazing culture at her label, and her employees genuinely like each other. They genuinely love each other, and all of them are hella smart. And to get that type of culture and synergy with the staff is very, very hard to do, but it comes from leadership, right? Like leadership from the top down reflects on the entire team. The thing also I love about Jacqueline is she's an amazing friend, a dope mom, an amazing wife. She's a runner, like she's all things. She's so inspirational to me because she's been able to do work-life balance, but still kick ass and take names. She has forged a lot of great artists and broken all kind of records. I mean, she's just an overall badass. And like I said, she has the work-life balance because in her personal life, she's a badass as well. So that's the woman that inspires me the most. And another thing about Jacqueline, because I can go on forever, people always say Beyonce has 24 hours in a day, right? But when I hear that, it's so overwhelming because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Beyonce. So what I always say to myself is Jacqueline Saturn has 24 hours in a day. And that to me makes it more attainable. Like if Jacqueline can get this stuff done, I can get this stuff done too. So she's definitely an inspiration to me.
A woman in the music industry who's really inspired me is Ethiopia Habtemariam, the president of Motown Records. I think, her visibility as a Black woman at the forefront of a record label is inspiring for so many Black girls everywhere trying to get into music, but especially for me as an Ethiopian American such as her, it's just double fold, that kind of representation. And I remember DMing her when I was a senior in college, asking if she would be down for an interview for my college capstone project about hip hop, and was eternally grateful when she got back to me and was totally down to hop on the phone. And, I know her background story where she tried to, reach out to Sylvia Rhone when she was about 16, because she really appreciated, a Black woman at the forefront of a company. And, these two women are on the cover of Billboard, and this is the cover that I saw when I was an intern at Billboard, that really got me into Ethiopia's story and appreciated just how she allows the rappers under her, from Migos to Lil Baby, to tell their stories and speak their truth, which is a universal truth of Black people everywhere. And I've just really appreciated her work and her hand in that.
A woman that really inspires me is my best friend, Noah Reardon. She used to work at Golden Voice doing content for festivals like Coachella and Stagecoach, Flog Gnaw. Now works at Versus Creative, which is a marketing agency. And it's just super funny, no bullshit, super passionate about what she does. And, just inspires me to be myself every day in the sea of fake people. So shout out Noah, love you so much.
A woman in the music industry who has definitely inspired and mentored me would probably have to be Susie Esposito, who used to work at Rolling Stone as the Latin music editor and now works at LA Weekly. She is the one person who really believed in me and gave me a chance during a time where I didn't really have much to show for it. We definitely connected on a deeper level as two women of color, specifically Latinx women, who are interested in music outside of what people would expect us to listen to. We both come from punk and metal backgrounds, which was really cool. And we bonded a lot over that and our shared experiences as women in general and as women of color in this industry. And she has been so wonderful and instrumental in my career in terms of just encouraging me, giving me the strength to speak up for myself and assert my autonomy within this industry, and has just set a framework for not only myself, but for so many young women like us who want to achieve their dreams within this industry. And she's constantly breaking barriers and doing such amazing things. And she still helps me to this day, whether or not she knows it, just by me looking at her and seeing how she works. It's something that I am incredibly privileged to be able to witness, and I'm so thankful to have been under her mentorship.
I think the best piece of advice that I've ever been given is create your own opportunities. when I was fresh out of college and no one was hiring me and I was just applying to job after job after job. One of my professors, said, like, don't let that deter you from chasing after your own byline, keep getting after it. And so I did. I would go on Medium and write about music still. And so many of my friends who dream about managing artists, writing for a music blog, doing PR for bands, don't just stop at their dreams. Like, they're actively pursuing their passions and they're starting their own music blogs with one another, with kids that they met in music industry classes in college. They're managing the guy that lived down the hall in the same dorm as them freshman year, who's now like an alt R&B singer. People with that kind of drive make it in this industry, because once they do get their foot in the door at different companies, they don't go, oh, well, no one hired me after school, so I couldn't do the kind of job that I've always wanted to do. They say, oh, I always wanted to do this kind of job, so I carved my own lane and I DIY'd it. And those people really come out on top.
Essentially, probably the best piece of advice I've ever been given is to, if it doesn't feel organic, like, don't force it. I mean, everyone in this industry always is going to want something from you, and you're always going to want something from other people, but it's really how you go about it. And oftentimes, if it's feeling forced, just don't do it. Don't be strategic about it. Be more genuine.
So the best piece of advice I've ever been given is to make your own bylines. It's something that I definitely strongly agree with and something I advocate for and I constantly tell young writers about all the time. If you can't find a place for it, you shouldn't have to depend on all these different people to give it to you. We as women, especially as women of color, we sometimes aren't offered the same privileges and opportunities as our counterparts. And I definitely think we need to be able to make more space for ourselves.
The best piece of advice I've ever been given is by my former boss / one of my mentors and friends, Zena Coda. She told me, you do what you can, and you have to take that motto with you everywhere you go and everything you do. Like, as long as you do your best and you're trying, then that's what's going to get you far. And that is what is going to keep you going, because you can't wallow on things that are out of your control. You can only control the things that you actually can do.
One of the best pieces of advice that I've been given in the music industry thus far, and in life in general, is to not be afraid to admit what you don't know. I think oftentimes when we start a new career or start work in a new industry, even at a new company, many of us can feel afraid to speak up and say, oh, what does that acronym mean? Or who is that? And I'm not sure what you're talking about. But honestly, I've found that I'm able to get much more up to speed and really command a bit more respect when I feel comfortable asking things that I'm not sure of, or asking for information on something that I might need clarity on. So I've really seen that as something that I've been able to leverage and utilize in my own career, so that at the end of the day, I'm able to show to my colleagues and other people in this industry that, hey, I want to learn more, I want to be there. And if you tell me once, I'll retain that information and we'll grow together. But we all have this opportunity to keep learning, and making it seem as though we know everything already does nothing but sort of delay progress and that eventual understanding, so that everybody can really collaborate and come up with creative solutions.
And then the best piece of advice that I've received is really to run your own race. I think that in the music industry and in music journalism, which are super competitive fields, it's just really easy to look at other people's success and compare yourself to others. But I think that, like, one of the other great things about working in a creative field is that there's really no one path to success. So I really think that if you do kind of know why you're here and have your own goals, and just kind of focus on that, you can get far and you can go where you want to go. You just have to remember to run your own race and do things the way that you want to.
The best piece of advice that I've ever been given is follow your gut. So not a lot of people know this, but your gut contains as many nerves as your brain. And that's why they call your gut your second brain. So when I'm kind of on the fence about making a decision, I literally sit, hold in, do a gut check, and see what my gut is telling me to do. And to this day, it hasn't steered me wrong. Gut works.
The best piece of advice I've ever received is from my dad, and he said to be kind to other people even if they are not kind towards you. And I think even though it's such a simple piece of advice that you can really implement it in a career setting, I think you run into people all the time who are either stressed out or you don't know what's going on in their personal lives, or they just can be mean sometimes. And the best way to always handle that, even if you're frustrated or feel like your ego's been bruised a little bit, is to still handle it with compassion and take a second, like go for a walk for 10 minutes and then respond to the email, or just handle it nicely and say, okay, and then figure out how to best handle that afterwards in a way that is kind and still makes your reputation, really great and consistent still. So people know who you are no matter what the situation is. You're always going to be that strong businesswoman who is going to not get unwavered by somebody who can be mean. And I think that's a really great show of your character when you're able to do that.
That you teach people how to treat you by what you allow, what you stop, and what you reinforce. This is definitely something I wish I knew a little earlier in life, and especially in this career, just because people will try to take advantage of you as much as possible in many ways, specifically as a woman or as a young person in general, just to see what they can get away with. And it's important to know your boundaries and enforce them. It's unfortunate that people will try to push them and test them as much as possible, and specifically as a woman, it's unfortunate that if you give off a vibe of being cold or, really enforcing boundaries, sometimes people will think that you're, being rude or, being a bitch. But you do have to do what you have to do, and, eventually people will respect you for that, and they will fall in step with the way that you do need to be treated. And it's important for your mental health and, for the longevity of your career. So that is definitely important advice, I would say.
One piece of advice that I was given is to always remain a student in this game, always remain teachable. It's vital for your growth professionally and personally. Any way to climb to the top, you always have to constantly learn from those around you, from people big and small. So I would always say just remain teachable. Another piece of advice I would give to young women in this industry is just to never settle. Don't ever feel like, especially in a male-dominated industry, it's easy for us to feel like we're not being heard or feel like we don't bring enough to the table, but we do. And for those women who have strong opinions and ideas, always bring them to the table and take up space. Make sure your voice is heard. I would definitely tell all young women that. Make sure your voice is heard and keep taking up space in this male-dominated industry, because it's important. Our viewpoint, everything that we bring to the table, our perspective is just so important.
Young women in music, my advice to you is to keep your head up high. Do not bow down to anyone. Do not ever act like you're second rate or like you're undeserving of the opportunities that come your way. Kick imposter syndrome's ass to the curb. Young women, you are worthy. You are smart. You are a business woman. So go for it. You deserve to be here in the industry just as much, if not more, as everyone else.
10 years from now, I want the music industry to definitely have more women in executive roles, of course. But I also would love for the music industry to dive deeper into the ties between music and mental health and culture, because there is a lot of focus on like what artists do for us, where it's like they give us jobs, they give us money, they entertain us, they're figureheads, they're literally like a storyline. And at the end of the day, the best thing about music is that it's a universal language and it connects all of us. And artists are human, executives are human, and we really gotta tie all that together and figure out how to make this stuff work so that we're not losing iconic artists before they even hit their peak. And executives too. It's not just artists that we're losing, it's executives too. And we need to get a hold of that ASAP.
I think it would be really great to see more women in high up positions in the music industry, owning labels and owning companies and being really influential entrepreneurs. And I also would love to see more women and men of color owning labels and just being, the top people at these organizations more and more often. And I also think it would just be great to have more of, seminars and mentorship programs that are popping up so much now with women, and for that to be a more prevalent thing. Because growing up, especially in high school, I always was looking to find people who I could relate to and be inspired by. And I think if I had had a mentor or Instagram like this to go to really meet great people who I could look up to or who I could learn a piece of advice from and go there on a weekly basis and just learn something new every day. Like, I just wish that I'd had that growing up. And I think it's such a great tool. So to see where that goes in the next decade will be amazing.
In 10 years, I hope that the industry will become a more inclusive community that, will be showing statistics of 50% when referring to the amount of producers, singers, songwriters, and artists that we have to be female, 50% female, versus the pitiful 5% that are being reported today.
Something that I'm looking forward to when I think 10 years down the line about what this music industry could look like, I'm really excited to see how technology can continue to influence how artists are able to get discovered, reach new audiences, engage with their fans, and make more money. I think even in 2021, we've seen a slew of new technologies and apps come to the surface that have allowed a lot of really, really interesting collaborations and innovation. So 10 years down the line, I can't even imagine what that technology looks like, but I'm excited to both be a part of crafting that story and crafting those tools so that they're easy to leverage and actionable so that people at scale can leverage them to their benefit. But I'm also just curious myself as a listener of music and a lover of music, what new technologies I'm going to be leveraging to know what's next and how.
I really want to see not just women in more positions of power, but women of color, members of the LGBT community, non-gender conforming people, disabled people. We have a long ways to go in terms of representation. And not only do I want to see those people in positions of power, particularly, in the studio and label heads and places where it's mostly just straight cis white dudes at the moment, but I want to see people who are really excited and feel like they can actively make systemic changes to this industry to make it more diverse and inclusive.
In the next 10 years, I'd like to see digital become more of a leading and driving force in artist campaigns. I feel like the COVID pandemic, digital became kind of like the forerunner for all artist campaigns. It became a connector for people because you can't go outside with the pandemic and with the virus going on, the shows and different things, the whole music landscape itself changed. So I feel like digital became more of a driving force, and I feel like that's something that was needed. I feel like artists needed to connect with their audience in more ways than just physical. There's a whole virtual world out there that we can utilize and use for artists to drive campaigns, whether it's Clubhouse or whether it's gaming, whether it's Twitch as well. So I just feel like there's so many different avenues that we haven't tapped into digitally for artists that I want to see in the next 10 years be the driving force. I want to see digital come to the forefront for all these artists.
most important change I want to see in the music industry in the next 10 years is I want to see women better represented on the business side. I want to see women promoted more, put in higher paid positions. I want to see women in more positions of leadership. I want to see more people of color in positions of leadership and decision making. And I want to see the music industry treat artists better, just generally be less slimy, and just operate more on like an ethical, forward-thinking platform.
More equality and accountability, if I could just put it simply. I think that there still is just a massive, massive amount of inequality across the board. And that's not to be said that it's at every company, everywhere, in every part of the industry. But I do think that it's overtly present, where it's just a lot of white men everywhere, in important places, you know, at the top, making the decisions that need to be made. And there are a lot of talented women, there are a lot of talented POCs, and there's just a lot of smart people who are not white men who kind of deserve to be in higher places. And I just really hope 10 years from now that we just see more diverse staffs, and it's not just at the bottom, like at the assistant level, but that these people are making the decisions and running companies on the more executive level. And I hope that there's accountability. You know, I think too often that there's still this mentality of boys will be boys and it is what it is, but girls are held to a very high standard. And we don't really get to make mistakes. And we have to be right and we have to be perfect, and that's how we, you know, get to climb in our careers, where that is not the standard for men. So if we are going to be held accountable for our actions, I really hope that men start being held accountable for theirs as well.
And then in 10 years, I really hope that the music industry is more diverse, accepting, and equitable for artists. I think that we're starting to get there. We're having a lot of really important conversations about this, especially over the past year. But really, unless there's more diversity in positions of power and executive roles, things like that. And unless we really fundamentally change the economics of building a music career so that artists are no longer the last people to get paid, even though the entire industry runs on their work, we can't get there until we accomplish that. So it's kind of there's a lot of work to do, but I think that a lot of important conversations to get there have happened over the last year, and I think we're on our way.
So in 10 years from now, I would like for the industry to definitely, obviously, be more inclusive.
What I would like the industry to look like 10 years from now is definitely more women in leadership, definitely more people of color in leadership. Man, I want it to be just thriving, almost like in the CD era, but with streaming, which I'm watching that happen. I want the tech boom to continue to grow and increase. And you know what I want it to look like in 10 years? I want artists to be super fruitful in 10 years. I think the industry obviously has always kind of, the house always wins, right? So, you know, the big businesses always win in this space, but I really want artists to become more like a business and thrive and win. But definitely more women in leadership, more people of color in leadership. Definitely the tech space, again, still growing. Man, I just want to look fruitful and happy and amazing in 10 years.
10 years from now, I really hope the music industry embraces a diversity of thought into all the spaces that they occupy. Sometimes there's this misconception of like, okay, if we all look alike and think alike, then we get the ball rolling quicker on different projects and campaigns. but different kinds of people will catch you in your blind spot, and they'll let you know the different kind of communities you might be isolating or not reaching out to when you produce, different kinds of projects. And so those people need to get their foot in the door, and they need to have a seat at the table once and for all. And in terms of hiring, I really hope that those opportunities are more available everywhere and not just beholden to those with a LinkedIn account or those who went to prestigious universities who still have access to those job boards. People need to be posting more listings on Twitter and on social media and meeting people where they're at. Always look for the underdog, because the perfect candidate might not have a college degree, so they wouldn't have access to those job boards, but they have like the best ear ever. And you wouldn't know that because you're not reaching out to them. Speaking as a music journalist, my native language is not English, but is the language that I completely work in. So root for the underdog and look for the underdog so that they can really strengthen the work of your company and make your work more widespread and more global and more accessible to different kinds of demographics, because music is a universal language and it's something that should be shared and enjoyed by everyone, and it should be reflective of your listeners and of your consumers and of your readers. And if you're reaching out to a wide group of people and you're casting that wide net, then you should be doing the same thing on the inside and with the people that are working for you.
Thank you everyone for joining us as we celebrate Women's History Month. We hope that you continue to join Amethyst Collab as we celebrate women in music this month and always.